Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video here today. Yet another video related to another anime. Now, I've watched recently Ore Monogatari. That's what we're doing here today. Now this is going to be a bit of a short video, unlike my To Love Ru review, which lasted, how long did it last? Like 40 minutes? It was like 45 minutes or something. Now this is actually my second time doing this video, because the first time I did it, I had like an episode playing in the background to allow me to like focus on what I was talking about, and because I was screen recording like an idiot, I muted my computer instead of muting the episode so you could hear the episode in the background, which would, get me banished to the Shadow Realm by YouTube if you had the audio of that and completely throughout the video in the background for 15 minutes. So this a do-over, alright? So, yeah, we're just gonna get straight into it. Now, it's gonna be shorter, mostly because I don't have anything to complain about, and I don't drag it out, if I don't have anything really negative to say. Usually, I'm used to taking a dump on things. If it isn't Shawshank Redemption, I'm also not gonna be, like, describing to you why it's a masterpiece, right? So it's going to be much shorter. So anyways, we're going to be doing a review of Ore Monogatari, also known as My Love Story. I know it's not a great title, but it doesn't quite reflect the extent of the show, right, that you're watching here. So pretty much the basis of the story, I'm not going to bother explaining, because there's this thing called the internet where you can go and look up what the story's about, right? And besides, this is more of a review, not me explaining to you what it is, right? It's not a timeline video. Yeah, I would suggest absolutely right away, before we really get into it, I would suggest going and watching this show, right? Now, if the show sucked, I'd be telling you to stay away from it like the bubonic plague, but instead, absolutely recommended. So let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes here. Go through some of the characters real quick. So you got like the main character, Takeo Goda. This man, I call him Captain Japan, because he is the perfect main character. Okay, I mean, he's basically Captain America, except he's like 15 in Japanese. How tall is he? He's like, I actually don't know. I think he's 6'5", I believe, something like that. I mean, I know somebody who's like 6'3" in real life, and this man's 2 inches taller than him, and this is a 15-year-old Japanese kid, right? Maybe kid's not the right word, right? Japanese teenager, right? And most people in Japan are generally shorter, so, yeah, I mean, this man, he is a Goliath compared to other people, right? And so, I mean, this man has incredible strength. Okay, and yeah, I mean, everybody sees him kind of like this giant gorilla, right? It's pretty funny, but unlike the typical anime main character, he's pretty much the total opposite of like what you picture a main character in an anime to be, or an anime like this, right? Like, he's the utter opposite. Usually, you're used to like the limped loser that can barely open his mouth, is very quiet, doesn't know how to interact with people. He's pretty much the complete and total opposite of that, right? Now, he's not quite like Futaro in the quintessential quintuplets, where he's like, arrogant. He's kind of cocky, but he's loudmouthed, right? In this case, this man, he's very confident, extremely strong, right? I mean, this man, he's a freaking superhero, okay? He runs, he runs into a burning building and saves a bunch of people, and then he basically does the thing that Peter did in Spider-Man Homecoming, where he lifts all the rubble off himself, except he doesn't have any superpowers, theoretically. This man just did it with the power of love and anime crap, right, and somehow muscles. And so, and what else? He lifted a pylon by himself for multiple seconds that was falling from like a roof, and he lifted it, and then had 2 other people help him lift it, and he just pushed it off himself. It was incredible, right? And obviously, the momentum of that thing falling, he'd be super dead if he were anyone else, right? I mean, he jumps in after people in rivers, and the man's a hero, okay? And it makes him an interesting main character because he's very lacking in the intelligence department. And so his specialty is just elsewhere. He's like a Fallout main character. He's got like 10 points into strength, 10 points into perception. Okay, I mean, this man's basically like, he's got Homelander vision and hearing. Okay, he sees like a mile away into somebody's apartment through their window and sees their calendar and knows what day it is from that. I mean, it's incredible. Okay, he's like Superman, except somehow a human. But then you look at his stats, and he's got like, 3 intelligence and 0 charisma, right? And so it's like, he feels like he's got his checks and balances. And because he's such a good person, it's not annoying to watch him, right? And he's also not like a brick. It's weird. Like, they portray him as kind of a moron. However, in reality, he's really not like an idiot. Okay, now he does stupid stuff, and he thinks stupid stuff, and he's very, very oblivious, but you could probably brush it more as like autism than actual stupidity, right? And so it's not really, it doesn't make him an annoying character to watch, right? And I mean, that's pretty much him in a nutshell. And then, what else? Miss Yamato, is like, he thinks at the beginning of the show that she's trying to be close with Suna, which is his best friend. However, of course, that is not the case. And the show also kind of changes the norm a little bit by having the central focus of the show be his and Miss Yamato's relationship, rather than like working towards it, And so it's like the first few episodes are like that, and him being oblivious and not figuring it out. But after that's done, then the show is a lot more like Harimia, right? In the sense that it's very relaxed. There's not any sort of conflict, and so it's just smooth sailing, right? And it's pretty much just characters having fun with each other. It's a very laid back show, right? And there's not people constantly suffering and being depressed like freaking Origairu or something, and you get to watch something and have fun and smile, right? And it's very different than the usual stuff you watch. Honestly, I mean, like, I enjoy the laid-back shows like this a lot more than I think I would, because it has so much in it that's just, you can just sit back, watch, and enjoy, right? And it's not something where the world is ending or people are getting shot constantly or blowing up, as much as I like Star Wars. It's definitely something more relaxed that you can watch and just have a good time, right? And, I mean, Suna's a peak side character, okay? And this show doesn't really have any characters that are annoying, and it is a character-driven story, right? It is entirely focused on the characters, because the actual, like, events that are going on are not the interesting part. And so all the side characters, they're all generally good. There's not really anyone in this show that ever bothered me, right? The closest maybe was like the chick with the white hair that goes after Suna and is like basically a stalker. But I didn't really think she was annoying. She was just kind of there, and I thought that was fine, right? There's nobody like Haruno in Origairu where you're like, oh my god, get her off the screen, get out of my show. There's nothing like that. Every character adds something to the story, and there's never any sort of like major threat to the main character's, friendships or relationships or anything like that, right? So everything is pretty much a nice, smooth scale, and it's really just, a wholesome story of them trying to navigate, what's going on in life. And that's really all there is to it, in terms of plot. And then, I mean, it's good to see, like, Miss Yamato is the perfect match for Takeo. And then you get, like, Takeo's mother and father. They're both weird kind of characters. I've never really seen anyone like that before. And, Takeo's father is basically, like, he's a clone of his father. It's pretty funny, both in appearance and in personality, right? I also don't know what kind of, like, gene mutations occur to create somebody like Takeo or whatever his sister, which by the end of the show, she's just a baby.
Bro, what is that?
You don't see anything. Like, actually, there's no time skips in this show, so it's not like 3D Kanajo where you're like, oh, boom, 5 years later, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Right? No, it's all condensed into like a year and a half time about, right? Which, I don't know, I think time skips can be good, but I don't like them in, like, action, you know? That's mostly because when it comes to something like romance or anything casual, then time skips are like, oh yeah, we're still doing good, you know, we still love each other. It's not like 2 years pass and everything, you know, goes into the shadow realm. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to the show. I think, generally, with a show like this, I think it accomplishes exactly what it's meant to accomplish, right? It's kind of like the quote from Quentin Tarantino, where he was talking about movies, but it's essentially along the lines of, a good movie is one where no matter what you think of it, no matter how you criticize it, nothing drags the movie down, right? And so, you know, he said that about, like, Back to the Future, he said it about Jaws, things like that. And so it's the same thing with shows and same thing with anime. It's like, okay, well, if it accomplishes what it does and sets out to do, and it is objectively good and there's nothing really bad about it, then I think the show is a 10 out of 10. I do. I think it is generally a 10 out of 10. And that doesn't mean that I rate it above a lot of shows, even if I consider the show like a 9 out of 10, because it's in, like, different brackets, right? So, like, Kaguya-sama, Love is War, and Quintessential Quintuplets, they're in heaven, okay? They're on another planet entirely. And so, with a show like this, I think it's better than most of the shows that I've watched, right? I think it's a 10 out of 10, although it's not, like, a dramatic, oh my god, this is so much better, just because it's a very simple kind of story, right? And in terms of length, if you're a guy like me and you don't like watching something, assuming that's only like one season, this show has 24 episodes, I believe. So it's kind of like Toradora, where there's technically no season 2, but season 1 is the length of like 2 normal anime seasons, right? Or anime in terms of like, you know, usually with romance anime, there's 12 episodes in a season, which is annoying, right? So with this show, there's 24 episodes in total. It's all in one season, right? So so it's basically like there's 2 seasons in terms of length. So yeah, I think it's the perfect length. I think it could be longer, but that's what the manga's for. Did I buy the manga? No, because I'd have to pay for all of them. But you would definitely be good and be right in buying each of the manga. I think that would be an interesting expansion upon what you see in the anime. So yeah, I mean, there's not really much other than be said, other than that it's just good, right? So with this kind of show, give it a 10 out of 10. Because, I mean, it's perfect in what it does, and there's not really anything bothersome. There are also no OVAs in this show, and zero hope of getting a season 2. So, like, you know, check out the manga. Alright, well, with that being said, I'm not going to ramble too much longer. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, a comment, and I will see you all in the next anime video. Just so you know, on the next anime tier list I do, because I do a lot of those, this will be above Eminence in Shadow Season 1. I'm still procrastinating the video where I crap on Sid Kagano. I'm still delaying that, okay, because I actually have to write a script for that one, and I hate scripts. So yeah, also this video was better done the first time, but I've done it twice, so it kind of, my enthusiasm's a little decreased, if you wouldn't mind. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next video, everybody. And next up, I'm going to be doing a review of My Happy Marriage Season 1 and Season 2. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoy, please leave a like, a comment, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a fantastic day and a fantastic life, everybody. Goodbye.